Tracking a big drop in our temperatures, plus the chance for showers. I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods. After a very toasty weekend, finally got some changes in our weather and much needed as well. We've been tracking a new fire. It's called the Boyles Fire near Clear Lake. That's just off to the west of Sacramento, just a little bit north and west of the capital city. You can see some of the damage. Unfortunately, this did hit in a very populated area and some damage to some structures. We're going to continue to follow that as we head throughout tonight. The smoke has come down, though. This is the recent picture right here. And we're not seeing as much smoke coming out from that, but they're still trying to get containment fully for tonight. We've got some haziness in the air. We're going to be tracking some smoke from there. And then east of the crest, just over to the east of Lake Tahoe, we've got the Davis fire. This has been putting off a lot of smoke over the weekend, and you can see primarily into Nevada. Now, we are still seeing some haziness come out from that Boyles fire. That will continue to kind of get wrapped up in the upper air and then just give us some haziness through tomorrow throughout the valley. Better containment, though, it looks like, for that Boyles fire. Now, this is all happening as we track this big late summer heat. Highs today, upper 90s, low 100s throughout much of the valley. 111 for Palm Springs. Sacramento Executive at 99 degrees. Modesto 103. Fresno 104. Bakersfield at 102. For downtown Sacramento, we hit a high of 101. That's going to put us at 6 days above average for the month. So it's been a hot start to the month. Not to mention, we continue to track impressive records with the heat this year for the summer season. July went down as the warmest month on record. And you can see we're now at 43 days of 100-plus degree heat. That's going to put us very close to the record that was set just 2 years ago of 44 days at 100 degrees or above. It was certainly a summer for the record books. June through August, the record temperature 97 degrees for the average high. 37 100-plus degree days. Again, just in those 3 months alone. We've had more throughout the year because we have to account for September. And then June through August, 5 110-plus degrees days. The previous 3 days, normally we only have one. The average last 100-degree day is actually September 15th. It looks like we're going to be starting to see some cooler weather, and perhaps we have reached our last 100-degree day. Average last 95-degree high temperature, September 27th, 90 for a high, October 7th, and then our first 75-degree high typically hits us on September 27th, and the average first 70-degree temperature on October 12th. So we're kind of starting to edge towards that fall, Phil, and we'll get a taste of us this week. After coming out of well above average temperatures, we finally see this big push of cool air, not to mention the chance for showers as well. Now, not everybody's going to be impacted by that. We're going to be tracking some of those isolated areas that will get a better chance at the precipitation. For today, most of us were dry, but Southern California actually had some thunderstorms early today, and those have since dissipated, so a much quieter evening on tap. But this is the kind of weather pattern that we start to see becoming a bit more regular. We're just weeks away from closing up our water year. It starts every year, October 1st, runs through the entire year through September 30th of the following year. These are just the raw numbers throughout the state, but when we look at the deficit, just a couple of us are actually below average. That would include Redding, Sacramento, South Lake Tahoe, and Palm Springs. The rest of the state actually fared pretty well throughout this winter season and the rainy season as well. Now, it's been quite some time, though, since we've had rain. Downtown Sacramento, we have to go back to May 4th for when we saw the last rain. And for the Central Sierra Snow Lab, that was on May 5th, where we had 26 inches of snow, which happened to be the biggest snowfall for that location for the entire season. On the flip side of things, we tend to see drought grow in the summer months. It's not too surprising because we just, quite frankly, don't see a whole lot of precipitation. Just about a week ago, that drought severity and coverage index was at 49. We saw that grow just a little bit over the past week up to 63. Most of the drought conditions starting to grow on the east side of the state. Now, this all comes as the governor took 19 counties out of the emergency drought declaration. But I was able to catch up with Dan McAvoy. He's at the Western Regional Climate Center, and he says California is unique when it comes to the drought monitor.
There's a lot that go into these maps. So this is a map that's produced once a week, and there's one single author that creates this map for the entire United States. So you can imagine that's it's a lot of effort from a single author to do that. Um, but depending on the region and the season, these authors might use a variety of different tools. I've heard estimates, several hundred different options for products that they can look at. And so let's focus a little bit on California and late in the summer and what we might be looking at in terms of what goes into creating these dryness levels. California is a little unique in that it has a very distinct wet and dry season, right? So the summer is dry, and it's pretty much like that every year. If it is wet, that's the anomaly because we're usually very dry throughout the summer. And so when these maps are being created, starting say in um, late winter into early spring. The things that are most looked at is, how well was the snowpack that year? Was it above or below average? And then what is the runoff doing into the streams and reservoirs? And so for water supply, of course, the big picture for California is the reservoir levels. And so if the reservoirs are filled up. There's not a lot of concern for water supply drought. It's when those reservoirs start to drop really low. That's when we get concerned about water supply. A lot of that is for agriculture. And so the public doesn't often feel the water supply issues unless you're on groundwater. So reservoir levels are quite important. As you get later into the summer and start to head, in the heart of the dry season, the other things that really become critical to look at for our region are things like the soil moisture, how dry or wet is the soil, and that really impacts things like how dry the vegetation might be, the grasses, the shrubs, the trees, and of course, then that relates to our fire danger.
You can see the comparison here, too. When we look back at when that emergency drought declaration went into effect back in 2021, almost the entire state covered by extreme and exceptional drought. So fast forward to now, and we've got much less coverage. In fact, in many areas, not even under any kind of abnormally dry or moderate drought category. So things are still looking pretty good. This comes on the heels of 2 wet years, and we're just starting to kind of anticipate what we'll see this year. La Nina year typically favors a drier than average Southern California, but our big water year, 2022-23, that dug us out of that big drought was the La Nina. So really, it just is a wait and see kind of situation. Here's a look at the first fall rain. Our average first day with at least a tenth of an inch of rain, October 7th. The latest day that we've actually seen a tenth of an inch of rain or more, December 11th. So we can go all the way through September, October, November, and the first part of December with actually seeing a whole lot of measurable rain. Last year, our first day with at least a tenth of an inch of rain was October 10th. So we started off actually okay, but unfortunately, what happened was we kind of just flattened out after that. It took a little bit of time before we started to catch up again. Building a water year, it's really interesting here in California because we usually see the fall rain start in October, November, but 50% of that annual precipitation comes December, January, and February. Peak snowpack happens right about the tail end of March, and then we start that peak snowmelt. That's actually when our water is at our highest demand, but also the heat is the highest. So it's a lot of pressure on many of our major reservoirs to hold some of that water to take us through those dry months. Most of our reservoir levels are looking fantastic. At this point in the year, if you happen to be out and about to any of the reservoirs, you're going to notice they're pretty low, comparatively speaking. And that's just because we have to make way for some of those early onset rain events that are coming in. But in terms of our average, we're right about, if not slightly above average, putting us in a pretty good position again heading into this winter season. So even if we did have a little bit lower than average precipitation, given that we've had 2 pretty much normal to above normal years, That's a good situation for California. And now we start to change things again out of the heat and into some of that cooler and showery weather. That's going to top our weather impact headlines. Below average temperatures, potentially some Sierra snow. So a big change in those temperatures on the cool side of things with a fall feel in the air. And our snow level drops to about 8,600 feet. This all comes as a low starts to drop its way southward, resulting in a change in that storm track. It's really going to push some cooler air into the state. Best chance of some precipitation actually comes right around the California-Oregon border. A slight chance in the Sierra, but the overall pattern is for a likely cooler setup into the middle of September and likely wetter as well. We've got some big fires actually burning throughout the western states. It'd be nice to start to see some of the rain heading our way. Highs for tomorrow close to 80 up top for this year with 90s and low 100s through the foothills. Along the coast, it's quite pleasant 60s. We're going to tap into some of that cool air for the coastal communities, but inland areas, we got one more day to go. Upper 90s to right around 100. And then we start to see the big changes take shape. We got that chance of showers late on Wednesday, early Thursday for the mountains. We drop out of near 100-degree heat into the 80s for the foothills. For the coast, occasional breezy. Highs will be in the 60s and 70s with our 3-day forecast basically showing that drop Monday into Tuesday. And then we'll pretty much stay right about, if not slightly above average, but really all in all, if anything, this is going to be a much better situation for us, kind of dig out of some of the record-setting heat that we've dealt with over the summer months. So we've got in-depth forecasts just like this on our ABC 10 Plus app. Make sure you download it for free on Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV.